So, in today's video, I will be putting my foot into my mouth and hopefully removing it. I don't know. Like the purple-haired girl with the humanities degree will tell you, you need to check your bias, and that's what I did. When DeWalt first came out with their, it was probably been over a year now, with their battery-powered impacts, I took one look at them and said, nah, that's dumb. Your mom's ugly and she dresses you funny. I didn't like it just looking at the thing. And recently I was at a customer helping out some young kid, and he had the old style DeWalt ratchet, battery powered ratchet, and I kind of picked up, it's kind of like that. And my biggest problem is that none of my local Lowe's or DeWalt or Home Depots carry the ratchets, so I really couldn't put one in my hand. I'm making excuses for myself for snap judging something I'd never even touched. But recently the DeWalt came out with, I'm looking over here, I used to write stuff on paper, then I realized that I don't have to write stuff on paper if I just used a monitor that's sitting right next to me. Came out with the DCF510, probably DCF510 would be a better way of saying that. Anyway, and yeah, that's pretty cool. It's got replaceable anvil on it for 3/8 and 1/2 inch. Torque Test channel recently did a little preview or review on it, or test on it, I guess, probably a better explanation for it. And yeah, I mean, the thing's chooching at 300 RPMs, no load. And well, they tested it over 75 foot-pounds of torque, which is kind of cool. That will definitely help out in certain situations. And it just so happens, I figure I should mention it. Right before I recorded this video, I got 2 packages in the mail. I will show you of 2 new DeWalt drills that Torque Test channel sent me. I guess when they saw my review, or when we were playing with this here Mastercraft impact that goes into your drill, they felt bad for me because my personal drills were probably the better part of 10 to 15 years old. So I guess they sent me those. So a video on that coming out soon, and thank you Torque Test channel for the gift. But back to what we're here for, and we're going to talk about this here ratchet that I just picked up. Coming right off of the bat, I bought the package that came with it, and for the price, we'll get into that later. It just made more sense for me to get the package. And what comes in the box is the actual tool itself. And we're going to side-by-side compare this with my old Milwaukee that I've been using for a while. A power stack battery, which we'll talk about too. And I've been wanting to get one of these, and it's kind of convenient that I got one with a tool, which seems to always happen when I buy tools. A charger, which is the DCB1104 charger, and it is a 4 amp hour charger, which I like because I don't know why when you buy these small, I think it's a 1.7 amp hour battery, when you buy the smaller capacity batteries, they give you a smaller charger, and the components between a 4 amp hour and I guess a 2 or 1.5 amp hour charger, it's pennies. So just put the big one in there. Why make so many different chargers? That rant aside, and I think this is a newer charger. It doesn't look like the ones I've already had. It looks like a newer style. It's probably the same thing. Looks a little cooler, but anywho. You also get a handy DeWalt bag, which are nice, and you get 2 anvils. So you get the 3/8, which is on it. We'll get into that later. And you also get a 1/2 inch anvil, which is another reason why I kind of wanted this thing. So yeah, let's have a look down, and we'll get into the guts of the old thing and see what we think. So starting off just briefly looking at the newer style charger. I'm not sure how new these are, but new to me at least. Yeah, I mean, relatively same size, switch to side the battery goes on. Form factor's about the same. I mean, appearance-wise, this one kind of looks a little bit nicer, if I gotta say. And they actually put the amp hour rating on the front of the charger, whereas before you had to get your glasses and your microscope out to read which charger it was on the back of the old style. Alright, that out of the way, getting into the battery, like I said, this is my first venture into a power stack lithium battery, and this would be a comparable capacity. This, I believe, is 1.7 amp hour battery, and this would be like a 1.5. These little 1.5s, for anything heavy duty, they're kind of useless as far as that goes, just for the fact that they just don't have too much power. I usually use these around the house, like if I'm hanging pictures or something like that, just to kind of lighten the weight up on the tool. But yeah, as you can see, side by side, they're a lot smaller. Now, it's a little bit wider on the side view there, and probably will sit lower in the tool. Now, the question is, you're asking why go power stack and not just stick with, where the hell is it, somewhere around here, with your standard 18650 style battery? Well, one, size, obviously. Packing coefficient on a cylinder is a lot less than a square. And as you can see, this is a old LiPo battery. I used to fly all my drones, or my drones that I haven't flown in a while, I guess you should say. And it's basically the same thing. You can see the stacks right there. And if you can imagine, this is a 1300 milliamp, so that's a 1.3 amp hour battery. And I mean, pretty much if you took this battery apart, that's what you would see in there. Just a bunch of these here pouches. The other benefit to pouch style batteries would be just the, I guess, tapping them is the correct word. Whereas to an 18650 battery, the tap on it, you're not going to get as much, I guess, surface area, will probably be a better description of it. Whereas to a pouch battery, you can put a bigger tap on the cell itself, and you get the angry pixies out of the battery a little bit faster than you would with a standard 18650 style battery. So what I was using before I bought this, and which I will still use in the future, was the old brushed Milwaukee. Milwaukee puts their model numbers so small on their tools you can't read them. But yeah, what I was using before was this here old brushed Milwaukee 3/8 battery powered ratchet here. This would probably be, out of every single power tool I have on my work truck, this would probably be the second most used tool that I got. The absolute most used tool is this DCF510 3/8 stubby DeWalt. This thing is like my left arm, and I say left because I'm left-handed. If it broke tomorrow, I would buy a new one and have it shipped to me the very next day, because I use this thing all the time, and it is a monster. Everything from small stuff up to medium-sized stuff, it kills it. But that aside, we are talking about this Mamba Jamba that I just bought. We're going to kind of go through, and I'm not going to compare the two. I mean, new hotness, old busted, you know what I mean? It's not really a fair comparison, but I mean, from my reference as to what I'm using it for on a day-to-day basis, and I got a ton of miles on this thing, so I can kind of give you a good opinion on what I think about it. So anyway, starting, I mean, the most obvious thing would be with the Milwaukee compared to the DeWalt is a length advantage as far as the Milwaukee goes. Head is reasonably smaller. I mean, I don't know if one would definitely get that. I mean, it's a little narrower too. So I'm going to say, as far as compactability, I'm going to give a nod to the Milwaukee on that. Now, the one thing that bugged me about the DeWalt when I first saw it, or the older style ones, the older style ones have more of this style of head, and they changed this over to a sealed head. But yeah, one of the things that kind of bugged me about this one when they first came out was just this big honkin' donkin' ping pong paddle style of battery they had on the end of it. And like I said, looking at it kind of bugged me more than when I grabbed that kid's ratchet and actually put it in my hand and said, yeah, you know what, it's not that much of a difference. So starting from the back end here, we'll work our way up. Again, battery smaller, but I mean, you are getting a little bit more little more chooch out of the 20-volt battery. Coming up to the actual, where the, I don't want to make a lot of noise, where the operator input comes in here on the handle. This style of paddle kind of throws back to the old pneumatic style ratchets that we've all had at some point in time. I said before, especially after I broke this, I did a video on repairing it. I really don't see the point of it at this point in time. I always thought that they should have just a regular old switch on it, and this just, I mean, I guess they're trying to remind you of what you used to have, so you buy this one. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, this one's even starting to come loose a little bit, which I hear they tend to do. And this one, yeah, I mean, sitting right here in the hand, I mean, you got the little trigger there, and the lock. This has a lock too, so it doesn't sit there running your tool bag all day, which is kind of nice. Now, getting into the business end of things, where the rubber meets the road, if you will. Milwaukee, again, much smaller head as far as those things go. The one thing I absolutely despise about this tool is this little thing to change it forward and backwards. One, it's fiddly. As you can see, you really need to get your fingers in there. If you got any kind of a insulated glove or a rubber or leather glove on, you're not getting this very easily. I usually will keep a screwdriver if I'm working with gloves on. And yeah, I mean, that and the fact if you're, you know, butted up against something, taking a bolt out or a nut off of a bolt or what have you, once you're backing out, you could actually, I've never done this, but I've seen people who do it. You back it up against something, and now you can't go forward because this is being blocked, which is dumb. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's kind of dumb. My hands are getting all dirty. I hate doing that. I'm on vacation, for God's sake. But the DeWalt, which I give them kudos for this. It's got a nice indexed forward and reverse lever down there, which you can get to fairly easily. I could say with this, I've been, you know, up underneath a forklift with this sitting against a bolt to remove a starter, and I'm like, damn, was I in forward or reverse last time I used this? And this going like this doesn't really tell you anything when you're up underneath of it. And then of course you pull the trigger, and the bolt that you spent 5 seconds trying to get started into a tiny hole you can't see now is backed out. You got to put this down and put it back in, and then change direction. Whereas to this, you know, I could kind of reach up there blindly, flip it over to the other direction, and yeah, that would be a lot more convenient as far as that goes. Now, getting into the anvil, I guess we call these things. I don't know. This is a 3/4 inch socket of some sort, and yeah, I mean, it holds on well enough despite all the use and abuse I had of this thing. And the one thing I saw when I first saw this, I was like, all right, well, this end pulls out of here. I'm like, that's just dumb, because every time I try to remove the socket from it, the anvil's going to come off, which I think is actually the problem that some people are having with the Milwaukee, the through one. I can't remember what the hell they call it, but yeah, every time you pull your socket off, the socket adapter comes loose. But what they did with the DeWalt is you got these two really strong indents here, or ball indents, and you got to push that in to get this to come out like that. As you can see, once it is in, I got a pair of pliers right here. Once it's in, it is not coming out unless you push those little ball detents in there. And it comes out kind of nice. I wonder if will it go in the other way? Yeah, look at that. I don't know why you'd ever need to do that, but I mean, say you did, I guess. And another thing I just noticed, it's got a little greaser in there, so you can pump it. Yeah, look at that. A tool you can actually maintenance. Who would have thought? And while we're on the old head here, anvil, like I said, I guess we're going to call these things. This is your 1/2-inch one, which with this one, it will do 1/2-inch style bolts that you would need a 1/2-inch socket for, but they need to be rust-free, no Loctite, and basically hand tight. Because this thing, I could probably show you. This thing, and my hand's going to act kind of as a damper on the mechanism, so it's not going to turn. But headphone people, beware, I'm going to make noise. Watch the old spinny thing here. And I'm not really holding it that tight. And you see that stutter as it's going around? I'm not really varying the grip there. And it does that. It does that sometimes on bolts where I think this should knock it loose. But with this guy, and I haven't even tried this yet, so it might be worse, but I doubt it. Not really much in the way of actually seeing what's going on. Let me get a marker. Here we go. Put a little line down here so you can kind of see on a marker that is kind of dead. Nothing but professionalism here. But helps if you have a battery in it. There we go. Yeah, I could barely stop that thing. And another thing I noticed of my time of using this little guy right here, I've never had a problem with it, let's just put it that way. But you can kind of, I mean, even battery wobbling aside, you kind of, you're not going to see it on camera, but it's kind of got a flexy feel to it. And you know how it is, you get inside there, it's a little too tight, so you want to put a little extra on it. Technically, you probably get a breaker bar or something to cut it loose and then use this thing, but you know, he who hasn't abused a tool when you could have just gotten the right tool can cast the first stone. But as far as that goes with this thing, I mean, it is solid feeling in the hand. I can barely feel any flex. And the nice thing is too is that when you got the battery end down here, whereas to this one, if you're reefing on it, you know, you kind of have your hand on the battery pushing on that, whereas to this, you got this piece of plastic here you could reef on and not actually even involve the battery in that level of abuse. So that's actually kind of really ergonomic. I like that. Speaking of ergonomic, balance wise, yeah, it's kind of right between your two fingers here. If you choke down on it like this, my big hand kind of wants to go into here. But I think if you're up here, you're pretty good. I think probably most people are going to use it like this just to keep it balanced in hand. The reason why balance is important, if something's really out of balance, you're using more effort to keep it straight than you are to actually using the thing, and it just kind of wears your hand out a little bit more. So, I mean, as best as I can tell, comparing the two together, like I said, not a fair comparison, but it's a fair one for me because I own this one and I'm going to start using this one. Yeah, I mean, that's probably about all we need to know about this thing. I will say, and someone made a comment on this the other day on one of my videos on that 3-inch cutoff DeWalt I got. DeWalt on their newer tools are definitely starting to lean more towards the black than the yellow. And I mean, personal preference, it just kind of look cooler with the more black on them. And it is nice too nowadays. Back when 10 years ago, before these companies realized that mechanics could actually use these tools, the grips on these things would get oil soaked and they'd start peeling off, and that seems like they have fixed that problem, which is kind of nice. So yeah, that's about it. Let's close this guy out. So there we go. That is the DeWalt DCF510 powered ratchet. I will say, size-wise, I'm not sure how much of a difference that's going to make in my day-to-day work. I work on industrial equipment, namely Toyota forklifts, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure if this will be needed more than this, and I had an idea, because I always come back to my tools after I've used them for a little while, the ones, you know, power tools and things like that. I think right here on the inside, I'm going to just get a little Sharpie and put a little mark there for every time I had to put this down and pick this up because this didn't fit. And I'll keep this in the tool bag, and I'll throw this up on the shelf so I still have it if I need it. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, I always come back to my power tools and some other tools after I've been using them a while, and I get a real good opinion on them, and we'll do that with this one. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Torque Test Channel did this head-to-head against the new Milwaukee Insider. These tools, those two tools, this one and the Insider, pretty much came out within the same month. A little parallel thinking, I think, on their behalf. But I mean, from what I've seen, this kind of, if you're looking for a reason to buy a DeWalt tool and you need one of these ratchets, you probably go with this one. But I will link that video of theirs in the description of this video if you want to kind of get the numbers off of the thing. Some people are, why don't you do it? Well, they do it perfectly fine, so what the hell you need me to do it for? I just kind of give you my opinion on things and run them and see what happens. So yeah, so I think when I post this video, and I'm looking at the screen right now on Amazon, this full kit battery charger bag, the whole shebang, is $250, which is a boner deal on this tool, considering the tool alone is, well, before it went on sale it was $250, and I think now it's on sale for like $230. But I mean, considering the battery alone is going to cost you $100, it was banging on and off sale from when because I put this in my cart like pretty much when it first came out, because I was considering it, and it was coming on and off sale for the full kit for between like $350 up to, it'd be down to $250, and it just kept going back and forth. So I will put a link in that. If you don't need batteries and a charger, just buy the tool by itself. I'll put a link for the whole kit, and we'll see if it's $250 when you click on it. It might even be cheaper, who knows? You could be watching this 2 years from now, and this will be the old one that's going for $175. But yeah, so, and anytime, I know some of you guys like to click the links because it helps me out. If I put a link on there and you get something cheaper, buy that. Like I said, Amazon doesn't kick me that much money. I only use their links because they're a billion-dollar company. If I'm sending in there, I might as well make a buck, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, like I said, always check for best price on my links. The reason I give these links is because I link the person I buy it through, and at least the part where they got it to me and it was in a good package, I could vouch for that. And like I said, that's why I always use the link that I used when I bought the tools. So yeah, I think that's about it for this guy. As always, comments, concerns, drop them down in the old description down there, and we'll be back to this guy in I don't know, 6 months, a year, depending on how long I use it, and we'll see what happens with it. So yeah, that's a video. There you go.